If you're starting on YouTube in the new year or restarting, these are the most important things I think you should really think of and maintain throughout your journey and your trajectory. I think what you need to really know is that your experience as a creator and the value that you offer is not immediately determined by your views. It's a really good reminder to have. And secondly, reframing your journey will not only bring your development a whole load of benefits, but I think then that your value offering improves and then the subs go up and the views and everything else that you want from your YouTube journey. So let's talk about this. I am Serena's Playbook. It's a new channel. I have more than one channel. And I started this one because I wanted to help other creators, entrepreneurs, those who are building a business in public to sort of level up their strategic thinking. My background is systems thinking. I have more than 20 years in comms and media. I'm a chartered public relations practitioner. I do a lot offline. And then a little slice of my life is online. So let's talk about the kinds of things that I think would be so helpful for you to know if you are starting out on YouTube and if you are restarting, because gosh, I've done that so many times where I've had to, not had to, but I've chosen to resume after time out. In fact, it's happened several times with me. Ever since 2016, that was my first channel, Life Vocabulary. It's now been repurposed and it's in its sort of a different sort of iteration. But yeah, I get it. So let's talk about this. Okay. So first and foremost, I just think it's really important for us to remember that we're in this for our own sort of value and our own sort of development. This can't purely just be for an image, and it can't purely just be for vanity metrics. I think that would be the worst way to go about this. There are so many changes. We know multiple changes and uncertainty regarding platforms, algorithms, AI, tech shifts, all of those things. I think for the foreseeable future, we know that YouTube is here and there's still an opportunity to build a community. Just since I've mentioned community, search Serena's Playbook and you'll find me on Discord because I'm looking to build a community that gathers on a monthly basis where we can review an essay or some sort of strategic content or a strategic problem or dilemma. It could be a thought experiment, and then we come together on a Zoom, something along those lines. So I'm experimenting with it. I mentioned it in an earlier video. We're going to do it. So find Serena's Playbook on Discord. Right. So the trajectory of a YouTuber can look different for so many people. And I suppose we only hear about one sort of trajectory because those are from sort of shared from sort of the most successful or those who sort of have a similar journey. And everyone's journey is very different. I think what really sort of helps for us to sort of remember is that YouTube definitely rewards clarity, it rewards consistency. And it's not about being perfect, but it's about being clear with what your aims are and what your intention is, and then being consistent with it. I have allowed my quest for perfection to get in the way of my YouTube growth. It's only once I allowed myself to just riff and shoot from the hip and not overthink stuff with my media and politics commentary channel that I sort of got past that sort of monetization threshold. I think it was within 9 months. And I was doing regular streams, and it was during the Trump election, and I was doing a lot of coverage. It was an interesting time. What I found though was just turning up and the audience knowing that I would be there is what really helped. It wasn't about me being perfect on camera. In fact, a lot of the stats in my YouTube studio, I'm looking at them right now. And if I look at the sort of the percentage of likes and dislikes, sometimes it was pretty hard to sort of see that. Actually, it was interesting, But of course it was going to be, because I was covering political content, and it's going to attract people from both sides of the political spectrum, so political aisle. So it's going to attract people with very sort of different ideological views as well, even though I try and be as neutral as possible. So that was a very interesting journey. It still is. I would also not invest in a sort of year-long strategy. I would iterate and look at doing a 12-week load of batch content in advance. It's the only way I have found myself to be consistent with my channels that aren't news related. My media and politics commentary channel, which is called Serena Syed, is very topical. And so it's impossible to batch content unless I'm doing something about media literacy or civil liberties or what is a hung parliament, these kinds of things. So I don't do as much evergreen content on that channel. But for channels like this one, and my sort of personal channel where I talk about middle-aged and neurodivergence and choosing the analog life, that can be evergreen and it can be batched. So I would look at sort of building a batch for 12 weeks. Long form and short form are interesting. I think it's about what's sustainable. What can you do easily? I can speak for 10 minutes minimum, and it could go on for 20 something minutes. It all depends. I was doing streams for an hour and a half at 2 hours at times during sort of election season. And I found that to be quite exhausting, but I could do it. I think you've got to think about what is sort of most sustainable for you. If you can repeat the long form content over and over, then your audience can expect it and they can rely on it. With short form content, it depends on the kind of creator you are. If you're an entertaining one, and I'm not that kind of creator, then you can go for the sort of form, the punchy content, and it could work in your favor because that's the kind of style of content that your audience is seeking. I think all in all, YouTube content specifically as being a body of work that I want to feel a sense of pride for. It doesn't have to be perfectly edited. In fact, it's mostly not. It's usually one whole sort of cut. Um, I only have to chop if there's like a loss of connection, as has happened in this video, or if something goes on with the audio, the video, the feed, then that's when I'll sort of do a chop. Um, or if I said something ghastly and I definitely don't want to include it. So I would really recommend sort of choosing a format that you can easily repeat, just so you can stick to that consistency and so that people can rely on you showing up and doing it over and over and over again. Um, I think I'm probably mostly experienced in long form content. With short form content, I usually clip. What I do in my long form using Restream, I have a whole paid membership with Restream and I use the AI clips. It's fantastic for that. Um, but I do jump on TikTok and I will do 1 to 3 minute talking. And that's very sort of, again, it's speaking about ideas or opinions or sort of exploring things in that respect. So that's sort of my style of channel, sort of my style of content and the style of this channel. Um, I do sort of try to apply my sort of strategic communications experience and think of a hook and everything else. But I think for the most part, because I am the kind of creator I am sort of creating in time that is pretty hard to get. I will not overthink it and I will ensure that I just get stuff out and I'm 95% unscripted. So that process works for me. If I overthought it, as I have in the past, then I would not create because I never have the sort of perfect time to script and prep. And the only stuff that's sort of scripted and prepped is usually from my research, from my MSc, from my masters, or from other sort of research work that I'm doing. So I have got the sort of documents, the receipts, if you like. I've got that kind of I've got the sources available already, and the sort of insights, the nuggets, all of that is sort of already at the sort of top of my dome, and I can easily share those. Otherwise, I'm just shooting from the hip, much like this video. I have a space like a Notion template, and well, is it a Notion template? And I also have one or two AI chats where I share my notes, my ideas, and I will have some ideas and suggestions generated that sort of are suitable for each one of my channels, which can be helpful, but I don't actually like what AI sort of spits out because it feels very generic and it doesn't have my style or signature style or my tone of voice. And so I'll always say, just give me bullets because I don't want to read out lots. I also must say, as sort of last point, is that I am very concerned about legacy, and I have a master plan, and I have many things that are sort of lined up in the sense of what I would like to accomplish. And these are all part of and then I wouldn't even call them stepping stones. I would call them sort of very sort of pivotal and necessary cogs in the whole system, and everything sort of interconnected, and they rely on each other. They're interdependent, and it just works. And so for me, I kind of take a legacy view much more than short term sort of success. And so that's really helped me to just strap in for the ride and give this sort of the kind of commitment that I know it requires. Uh, if you're that kind of a creator, I'm speaking to the right person. Um, I'm definitely not the kind of voice or creator that wants to come on here and provide a elevator pitch style of content and sell you a course. My sort of area of expertise is very much around the sort of creative and intellectual academic kind of thinking space, and that's where I want to sort of align myself, and I don't want to betray that part of myself. And every time I have tried to do the whole course thing, the recommended or sort of entrepreneurial journey, I end up betraying who I am and what's sort of most suited to me. It also impacts my so-called, quote unquote, authentic voice. So I think once you determine what your authentic voice is, the kind of long-term aims that you have, you can then design your consistency and style around that. I think it's really important to have an idea of that over and above everything else. This episode ended up being a little bit choppy, and I think it's because I lost all connection, and then I felt like I crashed out inside my head. So I'm so sorry if it came across that way. I'm actually a little bit, yeah, you can tell. I'm not usually like this, but I do appreciate your time and attention. I just really hope you have the best luck on your YouTube journey, for however long the ride lasts for any of us, for all of us. And I'd just love to hear from you in the comment section. And please do join the Discord. It would be so awesome to build a community of strategic thinkers, creators, those sort of building uh, a presence online. And we can share best practice, we can share ideas, and we could just elevate our strategic thinking together. So thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider it, because it really helps me. Go on, press it now. And I'll see you in the next one.